Crew Pros, your single source for high-quality, affordable home services. If you are remodeling, repairing, or replacing, Crew Pros are the professionals that can do the job no matter the size. If you are thinking of remodeling your kitchen or bath, needing a new HVAC system, plumbing repairs, flooring, or a complete roof replacement, call Crew Pros. Crew Pros, proud sponsor of the Grizz 901 podcast.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901, sponsored by Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. I am your host, Daniel Greer, and who was supposed to be with me was my co-host, Nathan Qualls. He'll be back here in a second. He was probably having technical difficulties, but the Grizzlies, God, coming off of just an absolute ugly game there with the Nuggets, losing 105-91, a 14-point loss. They actually were down at some point by 23. They were able to get back and cut it to, I think it was 8 at one point, maybe even a little bit less there in the fourth quarter. But for the most part, it was an absolutely ugly game all around. It just looked like they were being dominated by the other team. And even Ja going off, it seemed like they could not cut it. They could not cut the lead until finally that third quarter when Ja went off. It was a Ja show, and he went off in that third quarter, a big third quarter for him. And so I'm impressed by that, and I'm impressed that they kept fighting and they came back and end up losing, right, by the 14. But in the end, it is a loss. They did fight back, and we're going to talk through some issues they might have right now within this team. Maybe some things that I said on Twitter that maybe angered some people. That's comical in itself. But it was an ugly game to watch. So let's go ahead and bring in Nathan. He's a little cloudy for me, probably cloudy for you. Nathan, are you there?
Yeah.
Yep, you're terrible. You're very bad. That's all right. He'll keep working on that. But honestly, let's get through the game a little bit. So the Grizzlies, within this game, it was the Nugget show. It was the Jokic show from the very beginning in that first quarter, and that really was the biggest part of the game. Is when they went up 35-14 in the first quarter. The Grizzlies have always been a big first quarter team, huge, and now they're just struggling with that. And they struggled, I think it was the previous game when they were trying to get off and they could not figure things out with Oklahoma City Thunder, and now they have a bad game, a bad first quarter again. It is what it is, but it's not the end all. Okay, the sky isn't falling. A lot of people are freaking out a little bit, and I understand. As a fan, a lot of times you freak out when things don't go your way, and that's okay. But Grizzlies 35-14 in the first quarter, and Nathan, we'll kind of bring you back in and see if we get your audio fixed here. But what did you think of that first quarter? What did it look like on your end?
My audio okay? Is it
Audio's good.
Better now?
Audio's great.
I don't think of that first quarter. Or should you? That was disgusting. I mean, the Grizzlies came out just as flat as they did in the Thunder game. I think that's what's super frustrating. You look at the box score, and again, it was Denver pretty well dominated the game, determined the way the game was going to go throughout of it. But the Grizzlies actually outscored the Nuggets with their runs that they had in the last three quarters.
Yep,
they got beat 14-35 in the first.
Yep.
Right. And they came out with zero sense of urgency. They came out with, it looked like a team that sort of reminded me of, I mean, this is really gross and it is insulting, but it was insulting to watch too. So whatever. the Lakers of last year that thought because of who they were, they're going to come out and win a game. And it's really hard for me to understand coming off 2 days of rest after an absolute dud of a game against a team you should beat 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And have that kind of effort. You know, it was brutal. It was brutal to watch. I certainly was mad about it. I'm sure that they will be mad at themselves about it.
Yeah.
Going back, looking back, and it feels like a game they need to go watch the film, because I think there's a lot of things to learn from a pure basketball standpoint, but also to look back and see that's not the team that we want to be. That's not the effort we want to give night in and night out. There's no excuse for that, especially after the Thunder game.
Yeah. And I think if it's a game in itself, you're a little frustrated as a fan. You're frustrated, right? It's just like, that's not what this team is or who this team is, right? And it's okay to be frustrated. But when you compile it with the Oklahoma City Thunder game, it's even worse of a taste in your mouth, because you're just like, we should have completely beat that team.
Yeah.
Ja gets thrown out of the game. We were losing by 20 when Ja was in the game. Okay. So it's not like, oh my God, Ja got thrown out and we ended up losing. We were already down.
I was going to say, I mean, I hate to sound like a Warriors fan, but does somebody need to remind them they haven't won anything yet after that Bucks game?
All right. Let me answer that question. Let me answer that question real quick. This team, they're going to be fine. My biggest issue with this team so far, they are 6-9 on the road. That's been my biggest issue. This last little win streak, all at home. Like, that is really where they picked up those kind of, got the train rolling again. And so that's what worries me, is going on the road and winning. It's not because of who they're playing. Okay. It's the competition matters nothing. These are NBA teams. They're all good. And when you go play at somebody else's home court, you should be able to beat them. You should have a 500 record, maybe squeak out 5 to 10 wins over 500 on the road. And you should be really good at home. That's what really good championship teams do. That's what I haven't seen yet, is the on the road wins, because 6-9, that's my biggest issue. Nothing else matters to me. A loss doesn't matter to me. It's one of 82. I don't care. In the end of the day, good teams are going to be between 10 to 15 games over 500 at the end of the year. So all you have to do is win 15 more than you lose, whatever. But the on the road splits is what scares me.
I'm not even worried about that, man. I am not worried at all about this team after the last game, the last 2 games. Again, it's gross. It's gross to have to watch. It's gross to see that kind of effort from the team, but I'm not overly concerned. Again, I thought once the Grizzlies woke up and decided to play a basketball game, they held their own, right? I think the Nuggets certainly didn't give all the effort they had to give, but I also think the Grizzlies just made life a little bit harder for them. I think the Grizzlies, if they came out with 4 quarters of that effort, would have won the game. I think the Grizzlies are the better team. I think that they need to learn a lot. The main thing that concerns me is a lack of communication on the defensive end. There's a lot of defensive lapses, right? It wasn't just the Jaren got into foul trouble with stupid fouls again, which he did, but it was Jaren floated around on a couple of different rotations and just let Aaron Gordon have drives to the rim, right? That can't happen. Brandon Clark, I'm sorry. I love BC. I thought he played really well tonight. I think he's a good player for this team. It's well documented. I don't think he is the brightest player on this team. And when he's directing you on defense, listen, it's one of those things. He's just he has been making a lot of the same mistakes this year that he did his rookie year, as far as being slow on rotations, jumping on pump fakes, that kind of thing. But tonight, listen, he was super locked in. I'll give it to him. But he's directing Jaren on defense. That can't happen. He's directing Jaren on offense. That can't happen. Jaren Jackson cannot have to be told where to be by Brandon Clark. Can't be the case. Things like that worry me. They really don't even, those don't worry me. It's just, those are the kind of things that need to clean up, and that can't happen the time after a loss. If it was a game where they had just won their 8th in a row or something along those lines, it's fine. But after a loss, you need to come out ready to rock and roll, to jump back on it. And they didn't. I think they will next game. I'm not super concerned about anything I saw tonight. They just have to come out with a game plan. That's probably the only thing I would say could concern me going forward is and I want to get your opinion on this because you do have more of a coaching background than I do. But it looks to me, certified coach versus certified
After
ball
you
watcher.
made fun of me last time, now you're
Coach brains do come in handy. I admit that. That's what's different between me and you. That's why I'm better, is because I do admit where you come in handy. You can't admit where I come in handy, which is everywhere else. But from a coach standpoint, I have thought at times this year it looked like the game plan was give the ball to Ja / Des / Jaren and then let them do something. And they don't come out with the offense where they run, right? And I think that's what made Denver so dangerous tonight is, everything goes through Jokic, but they have Gordon on back cuts, Bruce Brown on back cuts. Someone else is moving and rotating around to open up for 3 after that back cut. I don't think the Grizzlies do a very good job of that. Am I not seeing something, or is the Grizzlies, do they not come out with the game plan sometimes?
They run a completely opposite offense. If you look at Denver, they go into the high post, which is Jokic, and they work through the high post, which is at that point you're running picks both ways, whether it's high or low, whether it's a back pick, whether you're coming out and using your guards to use your big guys to come up top to get the ball to create the motion. There's just pretty much a motion offense. Like you have the pendulum in the middle, and then everything around it is moving, right? And at that point, with things moving, just like let's say a football analogy, okay? When you have the RPO, run pass option, right? Pretty much you're saying, hey, you have this option to do this. It's all about you making the right read. 2 people have to make the right read, the receiver and the quarterback. So if they both make the right read, they connect and it's a big play. Just like that, that's how their offense works. And Jokic is such a good passer that they're able to do that. And they're pretty much running an RPO style offense to give it to the people who are more on the, I guess, the football side of things. But the Grizzlies run a more ball dominant offense with Ja, but the offense completely flips on its head when Tyus comes in, and that's why the Grizzlies have been really good when Ja has been out, is because they run the free flow motion type offense where Tyus will kick it into the high post, which is Steve-O a lot of times. Steve-O will use a handoff, pick screen, whatever it is. Then you have a lot of movement in the back end. Well, with Ja, it's literally you have a pick and roll, a 2-man action. And it's really Steve-O or Brandon Clark, for the most part, those 2 come up and set a pick, and Ja drives and creates. That's their offense, which I am not a big fan of. But how do you go away from a guy like Ja Morant when he is potentially a future, if not this year, but a future MVP type, like caliber player? It's hard to go away from that. But that does hurt the rest of your offense, is because unless you have guys that can play within a role, like a David Roddy, who is finding his role very much so, Conchar, who has been awful the last week or so, unless you find people that can play within that offense, that's what it's going to struggle. But also it can be so good, because you saw what it did for Zaire last year. So if that answers your question, I think that there's 2 different styles. I think it's all about finding the right pieces for those type offenses.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And that's the thought I have, again, is from a non-coach mind watching the game, is it's everybody watch what Ja does. But at the same time, Ja's incredible. So you don't want to take the ball out of his hands. I just, on nights like tonight where it's very clear the Nuggets are packing the paint, they just were not going to – they sort of did the Minnesota defense where they're just going to make Ja see 2, see 3. They're not going to let him in.
They went more zone.
Paint at will. Can we not adjust off of that, right? And
how do you think
it just looked – I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Do you have more motion? Do you have Ja get off ball a little bit? throw in some more cuts. But what you can't do is just settle for the shots Denver obviously wants you to take, which is what the Grizzlies did throughout the first quarter. And when Denver would go on a run, it typically is because that's what the Grizzlies were doing for the rest of the game as well.
Yeah, so if you see their type defense that you've now seen Oklahoma City Thunder do, as well as now the Nuggets have both done, is they ran a what you call a 3-2 type defense, right? You have the three up top, and then it's kind of like an umbrella in a sense. Then you have the two post guys on the blocks on the near the basket. For some people that might not know as much about basketball, I'm trying to just explain it. But what happens is you put a guy like Aaron Gordon, who's mobile, he's big. He plays that middle because then if he has to, he falls down and he's pretty much a center in a sense. So you want a tall player. So that's what they're doing with a lot of these defenses against Ja. You have a tall guy, you have an oversized player at the top on this zone defense, and it actually keeps him hopefully at bay, because what happens is it clogs more instead of using a little guard. He can fight over, through screens and whatnot. And so what's happened is Taylor Jenkins made a very good adjustment. If you saw in the game, and if anybody goes back and watches this, they send two screeners up. And what they do is they screen the inside. And what that does is that creates a path that allows whoever the point guard is, it was Tyus Sun, but it was also Ja. It allows them a free reign right to straight down the middle. And at that point, you have two post guys. They both have to come. The only problem with that is you're using two guys to help one guy get to the middle. And at that point, your point guard, your guy has to get up a shot, has to go up to the rim, because there's not much help that you can get out of that. Okay, so they're really doing one thing. The other way, what I would do if it was me, I would send in a guy like they did, Brandon Clark or Jaren. I would like Jaren in that role. You just send him straight to the middle of the lane. You have 3 seconds, right? And you just maybe kick the ball back and forth, and you kick it back to the middle, and you should have Jaren there, and he can kind of float in and out of the lane. But I think that would be the biggest thing, is get to the heart of the defense, and that is the interior right there at the free throw line. And if you can do that, you have a 7-footer who is literally 2 strides, and maybe Jaren, maybe no strides, Mr. Go Gadget arms. He might be able to get to the front of the rim very easily. But the other thing is, we don't throw the ball into Jaren. So don't put Jaren in the post, because we were not throwing the ball into him for whatever reason. It's the dumbest thing.
Dude. I do. And I'll be honest. I mean, #bad fan. I didn't watch the second half of that Oklahoma City game. I score checked. I was like, if it gets close, I'll turn it back on. But I just got back into town. My friend's about to have a kid. We're at his house celebrating him. I'm like, I'm not going to put myself through this while I'm sitting here trying to have a good time with this guy. He doesn't deserve it. I probably do deserve it, but he didn't deserve it. So I didn't watch it. But I just assumed in my head, Ja got thrown out of the game. It's Oklahoma City Thunder, who their big is Poku. Defeat Jaren, right?
Yeah.
Christ almighty, that's not what happened. I don't understand it. He's a freak of nature. And, I mean, I almost even quit looking for it. Because tonight, I mean, it's the first quarter. Bruce Brown's on him in the post. They don't throw him the ball. They go swing to a slightly contested 3. Mm-hmm. And listen, you can get mad at Dylan for taking shots. It's not like it's just Dylan Brooks. Zaire did it. There was one time where Ja fed it to Zaire to feed it to Jaren. Zaire kicked it out to Dylan for a 3. It feels like I'm on crazy pills, and I get it. They want to be able to space the floor and shoot, but you've got to recognize the advantage that you have in there, especially on nights tonight where, I mean, I think they finished single digits for 3s, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't think they ever got to the double-digit threshold. So
no, I don't think they did.
It drives me insane. I don't understand it. It makes you a lot easier to defend, to not exploit that. And listen, I know Jaren had one play against Jeff Green. They called a foul. It probably was a foul, but it seemed to me like one there's no reason to call. It's not getting called on Jokic for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole not feeding Jaren in the post thing drives me crazy. But to bring it back to this game in particular, again, I thought the Grizzlies played very well. They played a solid game for 3 quarters. The problem was they put themselves in a hole in the first quarter where they couldn't just play solid. They really needed to play perfect for a long stretch of time in order to get back into it. And they just weren't able to do it. So I'm not worried. I'm not panicked. It was gross. I hated it. I felt like I was getting Jackie Chan karate kicked in the nuts for basically 2.5 hours, but they're going to be okay. It's going to be all right.
Yeah. The Grizzlies, 5 of 26 from deep, 10 of 27 from deep for the Denver Nuggets, who I swear, it seemed like they hit every single three they shot. I don't know if that was just the first half, but every time they shot, I was like, God, like, how are they hitting this many? It seemed like it was nonstop. And if you look back at the numbers, it's like 10 to 27. You're like, all right, that's 37%, 3. That's not that bad. That's not that good. I'm sorry. That's not that good. The Grizzlies defensively were fine. It was one quarter that they were kind of out coached. And I hate saying that because I love TJ. But they were out coached. They just were. And it was a sense of one team had a game plan that executed it. And it was such an onslaught in the first quarter that Taylor, and credit to him, caught back up and was able to get his guys, and credit to the guys as well, getting back on the right path, right? They figured out some things and they found out what worked. And then realistically, it was Ja. Ja did Ja things in the third quarter. And outside of Ja going crazy in the third quarter, this game's a 30-point game. But because he was able to kind of flip the script a little bit, and credit to Taylor again, he played Ja to start the fourth quarter. I've never seen him do that. Like literally, even in a playoff game, he's never really done that. And so credit to him for staying with the hot hand and seeing, hey, let's just get a little crazy and see if it works.
Yeah, I thought Taylor made one of the worst moves of the game in the first quarter, but came back in and made a couple of really good moves. I was really happy to see him change up with the rotations and leave Ja in, keep Ja in. Like I said, even I, with my dumb brain, saw the double screens he was putting in place to create some space. I liked that a lot. Yeah, and it's the same thing that when they were making those threes, I don't think they made a bunch of threes. Just every single one of them felt like daggers because you were behind the 8 ball from the get-go, right? They didn't make a ton of threes, but they were all big threes, right? And unfortunately, the Grizzlies actually had a chance. I got cut to 9 or 8 at some point in the third or fourth quarter. I can't remember. I think it was the fourth quarter.
They did it both quarters.
Both quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And each time there was a 4-point swing off of a Grizzlies mistake, right? It wasn't a Denver good play. There was a 4-point swing where Brandon didn't jump for the alley-oop Ja was going to give, which, listen, that's very bang. But it's one of those things that it's, when Brandon's rim running, I don't know how he's not looking for that because that's what he does, right? But, there's someone gets on a fast break and then nobody gets back and guards Bones Highland at the 3-point line, right? It's little things like that. The only move from Taylor I didn't like tonight was taking Jaren out after he gets back-to-back buckets. It was like the next play. I don't think they got back on offense. I think something happened.
He had 3 fouls already. I believe he already had 3 fouls. And they were trying to get him out. They shouldn't have a dead ball. No?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't think he was in foul trouble at this point.
Okay.
Because it was first quarter. This was first quarter. And they take him out in the regular rotation. If they had 3 fouls, and listen, I'll take it back. But
if it's in the first quarter, he didn't. He didn't pick him up to the second, but he picked him up pretty bang there in the second.
I'm pretty sure he got it. This was in the first quarter. May have been in the second. I don't know. I don't think it's a foul-related thing. But took him out, and at that point, the Grizzlies were really struggling on offense, and obviously defensively, they sucked in that first quarter as well.
All right.
Let's move on. I didn't like it, but
let's move on from this game. Obviously, it's been,
please.
It is what it is, right? It was a bad game. We've kind of broken it down enough for the people who weren't able to watch it. And the reason I kind of spent more time on this than we normally do, it's 12:15 at night. We're recording this as a present time, as the clock's still going up. And so I want to give, this is going to release. There's going to be a lot of people that watch this probably early in the morning tomorrow, or maybe listen to it early in the morning tomorrow and able to hear a little bit of how the game went. This is why we spent 25 minutes on breaking down the game as much as we could. Jokic was awesome, right? He
Yeah,
went for
he's
13,
so
13, and 13. I don't know if the stats, even though it was a triple-double, it wasn't overpowering, but it just seemed like he
Made
just
all
seemed
the
like
right
he was
plays.
toying. He was toying with everybody the whole time. Like, and he looked amazing. He played within himself, and he looked great.
He also fouled the piss out of Jaren on some offensive rebounds. So I would love if that whistle went both ways tonight.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the guys. All right. So Ja has looked fine. He's looked good. He's kind of come back down to earth a little bit offensively, but he's still passing the ball. Another 10 assist game. He had 35 points tonight. Obviously, he got kicked out of the OKC game. Let's talk about the rest of the crew. Dylan, are you good with his performance in the past? Like, are you fine now? I'm not talking about just tonight. Are you feel comfortable with Dylan?
Yeah. I mean, Dylan had a horrible first quarter tonight, but who didn't?
Right. Okay. Let's keep going. I don't want to spend too much time on the guys. If you do want to spend time on them, let's rock and roll. Steven Adams. They did not go back to him in the fourth quarter. Thought that was kind of weird, but I know that they wanted to kind of stay and see if they could change something up, which I like. He wanted to go smaller, and he went smaller. Unfortunately, Jaren forgot to get the memo of, hey, we're smaller. We're all going to switch everything. And he decided he didn't want to switch everything. But Steven Adams, okay with his performance tonight in general?
Yeah,
overall?
there wasn't much for him to do, right?
I
Please
think,
quit smoking layups. That's it.
Yes. So I think Brooks and Adams have been the two most consistent players over this kind of this little run outside of Ja. Ja's been, obviously amazing. He's been very good. They've been the most consistent. I'm not saying they've been the best at times. I'm saying they're the most consistent. And I think that goes to show that Dylan Brooks, I never would have said that last year, but him being the most consistent, one of the most consistent on this team, dude, it goes very good. Okay. It's showing that he wants to get paid. I'll just be honest. He wants to get paid. That's why he's so consistent.
But he's doing it the right way.
He is doing it the right way.
Important.
He's doing it the right way. 7 rebounds tonight. Dylan has played very well. He's played more consistent, which I've been a big fan. So let's talk about the rest of this crew. And let's not hit on Jaren yet, because obviously I put out a tweet that got some backlash tonight. And I deleted it because I felt like it was the smartest thing to do for us as a crew. I backed down. Swallowed my pride, even though I was right.
We'll get into that.
John Conchar, huge Jitty fan, personally. I know a lot of people are as well. Nothing bad about him. What do you think about it? Because he has not played well as of late.
He's not in the role he needs to be in. And we talked about this a while ago, and you, I think, disagreed with me and kind of got on my case a little bit about it. John Conchar does not need to be playing extended minutes. He just doesn't. He needs to be a gadget guy that comes in on the bench. He needs to be a guy that is on the fringe of getting minutes when it comes playoff time. And right now, he's having to start for you. That's just not ideal. He's not going to create shots. He does all the little things right, but he does not have the physical tools to be even really average defensively, right? He is a minus player defensively, not because he doesn't do the right things, but because he doesn't have the tools to be an average or above average player defensively. He can hit shots, but he's not going to be just knocking down contested threes for you. He's not a guy you want shooting at volume. I think Conchar is fine. I think it's the right move to have him signed. I think he will end up playing a really, really valuable role for this team. It's just not the role he's in right now. It's more than what he's capable of, at least at this point in his career. It's just not the right role.
Okay, listen, I disagree with the role. I think he's fine in the role he's in. I don't. What's his role? Stand outside, shoot if they pass you the ball to a wide open corner three, defend well enough, okay, and do the little things, rebound the ball. No. What has he not done? And this is why I think there's something wrong. There's an issue. He's not rebounding the ball. He's just not. So let me just share these numbers real quick with you and see what you think. For the month of December, he's averaging 4.7 rebounds a game. For the entire month of November, he averaged 7.1 rebounds per game. Did he play more? A little bit. The reason he played because he started. He's still starting. Okay. In the 3 games, he played 5 games. He played 23 to 26 minutes or less. He was still getting 7, 7, 4, 4, and 5 rebounds. Like, he's still getting a lot of rebounds. Now, if you look, he's had 1 game of 7 rebounds in the month of December, 1 game of 6, 1 game of 5, and the rest have been 4 or less. Like, there is literally his rebounding numbers. And tonight, 1 rebound, 1 assist, they're all falling drastically. I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but he has to do that stuff if he wants to be a consistent good player. And he's not doing that right now. And I don't know why.
I think you got a lot more activity during this little win streak from the rest of the team. I mean, Ja was getting 6 to 10 rebounds every night, it felt like, for a while. Jaren was doing a lot better job rebounding. Aldama and BC were doing a lot. Adams, I felt like, was a little bit down in his rebounding numbers too. But if you saw, it's because he was doing a lot of work blocking people out and just creating the right space for other people to work. And so if you think Jitty's hurt, I don't think he's hurt. Why? Because I don't think he's hurt. I just think there's something, like, if you look at him playing, he looked to be a little bit more his confidence, dude.
And that's probably what it is.
And
right?
This is what I mean by the role. If that's his role, great. And I think that is what his ideal role is to stand on the perimeter, get shots up, keep the ball moving, go get rebounds. I think that's his role. I think the Grizzlies offense needs a secondary creator in the starting rotation outside of Ja Morant. And if it's not going to be him, then it's going to – well, right. No. And he's not trying to create, and I don't think he is trying to create. Guess what? It's going to have to be Dylan Brooks. And you don't want Dylan creating that much. You just don't. Listen, everybody gets mad at Dylan, but at the end of the day, if the defense is collapsing on Ja, and you're not going to give it to Jaren, which, if you know why they're not giving it to Jaren, please feel free to write into the show. We would love to know. Who's the other person? It's Dylan. It's giving the ball to Dylan. So don't get mad at Dylan when he's doing the only other option that's available. And other than that, it's giving it to Conchar. And I don't know if you've seen Conchar shoot a floater, but it's like Justice Winslow level of danger for the court side.
That's not yet. That's not
his
game. That's not his game.
The problem is that, yes, if that's his role, great. That's his role on the bench. The Grizzlies need something else, and he's not going to be able to do that. So I think he's been asked to do more than what he should be asked to do, by no fault of his own, by no fault of the coaching staff either. It's not on the coaching staff. They're between a rock and a hard place. But he's been asked to do too much. And so I think it's probably hurt his confidence a little bit, and now he's a little bit on edge trying to figure out exactly who he is in that starting lineup.
Yeah, and you're probably right. He's averaging less than a 3 made for the month of December. Okay,
That's not him, right? That's not him.
He's a no-show tonight. I think he was at 14 minutes, 16 minutes he played. Literally, it was a bunch of zeros and a rebound and assist. Like, so it worries me that with all the other guys starting to come back and get healthy, if he can't find his confidence, he's going to start falling further down the depth chart. And I think that he is a very important player for this team. And I'm curious what it is. And I honestly think it is confidence. And that goes on to the interview I had with his college coach, John Kaufman. Shout out to the Mastodons. He talked about that in a little bit in length, of talking about how when John got there, he saw him grow as a player through his confidence. The more confident that Conchar got, the more he was able to be himself and kind of become the player he is. But the biggest thing with that, it's not that I think he's a bad player at all. I'm asking because I'm curious what other people see. What I see is a guy that now, like you say, has lost his confidence. But mainly what I see is that little do something stuff that Melton was doing, that Conchar picked up on. He hasn't been able to do that. And I think that is a big key for this team, because it allows this team to kind of run on all cylinders. When you have somebody doing those little things, Conchar is not the guy boxing everybody out, getting there and getting just a perfect, picture perfect rebound. He's literally jumping over 2 people because it's a big kick out 3 from a 3. Like that's the rebounds he's going to get. He's going to get those ones that are just hustle plays. we want to see more of that. I think that maybe his confidence, maybe some shots start falling. I think that'll come back around. All right, let's talk about one other guy in the starting rotation. Go ahead.
One thing before we move on, I'm not afraid of him falling out of the rotation. I don't see anyone coming for his minutes right now. I mean, if you're looking at someone that you think like, oh, he's coming back, and Zaire, I don't know if you've been paying attention. I'm a huge Zaire fan, but it's not like he's outshining John Conchar right now. So I think Conchar will get back in his role. He'll get his confidence back. It'll be fine. I'm not worried.
Well, let me I want to move on to Jaren, but before we hit Jaren,
yeah,
are we about to have a real conversation about David Roddy being in the 10-man rotation? Okay, let's
go, baby.
Let's talk about this for 2 minutes. 2 minutes, not long. Whenever Bang gets back, we're going to be at a 9, and the 10th guy and the 11th guy, 3 players: Zaire, Conchar, Roddy. 3 players for 2 spots. If you had to give a prediction right now, today, who's the odd man out?
I mean, probably Conchar, but I don't.
Like I said, Roddy has done so well in his role right now.
Roddy can just do more. Roddy's the opposite of Conchar, where he has all those tools, right?
Yeah.
He has all those tools.
He shows more aggressiveness.
The thing is, he has the athleticism, right? And it's one of the things that Conchar. I mean, listen, it's not an insult. Look at me. I'm 6 foot when my hair is big, white dude with a bunch of back issues, hip issues, knee issues. Listen, the athleticism just isn't there, right? And it's part of it. It just is what it is. But it's I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case, because they're trying to get Zaire back up to speed right now, but it's brutal. I mean, and we're big Zaire fans here at Grizz 901, but it's brutal right now. We saw it tonight. Yeah. Listen, Aaron Gordon hit a wide open 3 that was really the dagger. That was really the one that punched the Grizzlies' lights out, because Zaire was standing in the paint just in the skies, right? Yeah. And so I don't think Conchar loses all his minutes by any stretch of the imagination. He fits too well and is too much in a groove with what the Grizzlies do. But listen, you can't keep Roddy off the court right now.
You're not going to be able to. You're not. He's playing too well.
He does, and he does everything. Listen, he didn't knock down the 3s tonight, but for the most part, it's gotten to the point where I was surprised when he wasn't knocking down some of these corner 3s, right? Which is how Zaire got last year, when he shoot a corner 3, and I would expect it to go in.
Yeah.
And then he does the drives, he rebounds. He came and ripped one away from somebody tonight. I don't know if it was Jokic or who, but he just ripped one. It was awesome. Chachnar, I think they have a Chachnar for the Nuggets.
Yeah. That's Conchar's cousin.
Yeah, sure. Go Mastodons. You can't keep him off the court, though. Listen, he looks every bit the part. It's almost like somebody.
Shut up. All right, our 2 minutes are up on him. So yeah, I want to have the quick conversation of David Roddy is making the conversation loud.
Yeah,
he
awesome.
might be a rotational player for this team, who is a championship contending team. Yep. He could be in the 10-man rotation, and Taylor likes to go 10-man, so he's going to get his chance. And obviously, I'm not talking about some games. You're going to have DNPs for certain guys just to get rest. And you're going to have certain, games where the matchups is just better on one way or the other. But for the most part, I'm talking about for the most of the season. You're going to have, I think Roddy's, he's making a conversation about him playing. So I'm excited. All right, let's get to the last one. This has been the one that's been the most talked about. Jaren Jackson Jr., what are you seeing? Because Jaren, Defensive Player of the Year in the conversation locally here in Memphis. He has played very well after coming back, right? And that normally isn't. It's normally like Zaire. You come back and you have your struggles and you eventually get back to where you were. Jaren, when he came back from, having the issue, his foot issue, and coming back so quickly, you didn't think he would be this good. Jaren has been very, very good. He's shown glimpses of being all-star caliber. there's also been other times when he's shown that he has struggled, and whether it's basketball IQ, whether it's defensive schemes, whatever it might be, whether it's just getting lazy. What have you seen from Jaren here lately? And do you think it's something that just falling into a rut, or you think it's, something that, hey, you just get out of that rut and maybe he's just going through a lull right now?
I don't think there's any cause for long-term concern. And one of the reasons being I haven't seen any of that on offense, right? My frustration with Jaren's offense is typically the team scheme as a whole, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge, huge disservice by the team to not feed him in the paint, because he's shown an obvious growth in that area. It's obviously been a area of focus for him to get better in the paint.
Yeah.
And they just haven't, but they're not feeding him, right? And you've got to feed him. There's no reason he can't go and just get a straight up post bucket being contested just like Jokic can, right?
He can.
He can go do that. So feed him in the paint, even if it isn't the quote unquote scheme. But it's not something I'm super worried about. It's clear that he still has some growing up to do and some learning to do on the defensive end and how to use his body. Like, the biggest thing I was trying to think of when we were talking about the Bucks game. I said I thought they would put Dylan on Giannis, right? And you thought they'd put Jaren on. Turns out we were both wrong because Jaren couldn't stay in the game, but you would have been right. But the reason I was trying to think, well, Jaren obviously makes the most sense. Why did I know that matchup was going to get him in trouble? And I was just thinking, because Steven Adams didn't get in trouble with it, right? And it's just because Jaren still lacks the discipline on the defensive end. It's because if he was his ideal role is obviously being able to sort of free roam, come in, clean up mistakes, block these shots.
He's the safety on a football team. He's the safety.
But for him to be able to really step into a full defensive player of the year candidate type role, I think this is pure speculation, just a gut call. He's got to be able to just play good disciplined defense and know how to use his fouls well. There's one thing about Dylan that, listen, he had a dumb foul against Jokic at the end tonight, but I tend to think even though he gets in foul trouble early, you see Dylan finish most of these games. It's rare he fouls out, and it's rare he loses a bunch of minutes because of his fouls, because even if he gets 3 quick ones, he's smart about the way he uses them. Jaren's not smart when he gets his quick ones, right? He's either not in foul trouble or he is. And when Adams was guarding Giannis, he's like, Giannis about to blow by me. I'm going to throw a shoulder into him, check him. He's not getting anywhere near the rim. They're going to call a foul on me, but he's going to think twice before doing that again. And I'm going to save a bucket. And Jaren hasn't learned that, right? And you saw a lapse tonight. I mean, obviously the last foul on Aaron Gordon was just really dumb. It was just a really stupid thing to do. And he was just letting his emotions get to him. You saw that clearly after the 5th foul towards the end of the game as well. But there's also times where there's a rotation and Jaren just doesn't rotate. Yeah. And it's not one of those, defensive communications. Everyone else on the defense rotates, and it's not Jaren. It's like he just gets a little like daydreamy almost, for a lack of a better way to describe it. And that can't happen, right? That's something that can't happen. Yeah. Again, nothing to be panicked or concerned about.
No. Yeah, and that's why I put up this, are we worried about Jaren? No, I'm not in the least bit worried about Jaren. Is he it's kind of dingy? Yeah. Is he a little brain dead at time?
Could be a little ditzy.
He may be the bottom 5 of what I say, bottom 5.
First off, that is not stamped by we. Let me
basketball
be clear.
IQ.
Let me be clear. Let me, from a outside standpoint, throw a few disclaimers in there. 1, we do not think he might be a top 5 or bottom 5 IQ player. 2, you don't think that either. It's called venting and frustration. There's some things called rhetorical questions and exaggerations. But
it was a joke. It's a joke. People
3,
took it to
some people were misplacing their feelings tonight, and y'all need to chill.
So It was fun. I had a lot of fun, and eventually, like I said, I deleted the tweets just because
It got
one,
not
people
fun.
people were getting angry about it. I like Jaren a lot. Okay, he's on my fantasy basketball team, guys. Okay,
First off, that means
I have-
nothing. I got people on my fantasy teams I hate, but
okay. Well, I like Jaren.
well,
Personally.
I haven't said this in a long time. Apparently, it bears repeating. We love all these guys. We want
Right.
all of these players
As humans,
to succeed.
as
Right.
players, we love. Yes.
Yeah, we love these guys. So none of this is like wanting them to fail or whatever, right? Even if we bring up trade stuff, it's not screw this guy, trade him. It's how do we best use this asset for the team, right?
How do we get the Grizzlies to be the best version of themselves? Is really what it comes down
just
to.
a reminder, we love these guys. We want them to succeed. So
So a little bit about
gonna be
about Jaren that I've seen is being more vertical, and we've talked about that. You know, kind of getting his hand caught in the cookie jar, where he's trying to make this spectacular play, whether it is the big block, whether it is the big steal. When you saw him get his fifth foul, you saw that Jaren was going up against Jokic, and the dude is a monster. Jaren is a absolute monster. His hands, his arms, I call them the go-go gadget arms. They go forever. He put his arms up, played vertical against Jokic, even though Jokic pushed him on the rebounds. He literally was going vertical against Jokic, and Jokic could not shoot over him because he is so big. And that's the kind of defense that Jaren needs to play, because what happens is if you use your size, you use your verticality, you actually can stay on the floor more, because then you're going to get the blocks. You're going to get those chase down blocks where he doesn't foul on. He doesn't foul on the chase down blocks because there's nobody there. They shoot the ball and his hand is way above the rim and he blocks it. Like, that's why he gets those spectacular blocks. It's not the other ones. What he has to work on, and he has to do this I think, to win the Defensive Player of the Year. He has to dominate his one-on-one matchups. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for him. Is he honestly, he's getting dominated. Aaron Gordon should not be able to have the kind of game if you're a Defensive Player of the Year. And he was on Aaron Gordon majority of the time outside of the fourth quarter. That can't happen. And I know a lot of it was backdoor cuts, but it was brain dead moments. It was his basketball IQ moments where he's not doing the schemes right. He's not rotating the correct way. He's losing his man because he's daydreaming. That's what it comes down to. You can't get beat up by Aaron Gordon and pretty much, in a sense, embarrassed in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And so at that point, it's a mute point at that point.
This is a complete lack of awareness, right? And that can't happen. All the Defensive Player of the Year candidates, listen, most of them are freakos, except for Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is his own type of freako, I suppose. But
he's a super freak.
Yeah, he probably is. He's French. But they they do all the little things, right? And Jaren's awesome at the big things, right? That block against Joel Embiid, there might be two other guys in the league that could do what he did.
Maybe,
right? Maybe. He may be the only one because he has the type of movement to be able to do that. It's not the big things, it's the little things. What little things are you doing? Are you able to stay on the court? Are you able to have the defensive fundamentals to stay in front of someone who's athletic like Aaron Gordon and keep it in there? And then make sure you put yourself in a position to get a rebound. It's all the little things, and he doesn't do all those little things, and that's going to be important. All little things, just like on the offensive end. Awesome. You can do freaky stuff on the offensive end that 7-footer shouldn't be able to do. Can you get a little hook shot in? Can you do a little post move? It's a little stuff with Jaren.
He's a unicorn, man, and he's going to be a very pivotal player for this team going forward. He is one of the main core pieces. Like, he's not going anywhere. Okay, we like Jaren, but it just goes to show, and I made this comment, Desmond Bane is the second best player on this team, no doubt. Like, he's in that position now because Desmond Bane, he's good defensively, but his offense is really what the Grizzlies have to have. No matter what Ja does, offensively, Desmond Bane lets you become the championship contender team that you want to be. And I think Jaren's a huge piece of that. But I really do think you have to have a Desmond Bain to really just unlock a lot of pieces. And I think he stretches the floor so much.
I think you need them both. I think they're equally important. Bain's the second best player. I would say Jaren is the biggest X factor, though. Jaren is
Very
what
much
pushes
so.
you
Okay.
over the top.
I'm okay
Bain,
with that. X factor is big.
Bain getting in 5-on-5 today, Daniel. You see that?
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's get it back. Christmas
starting to get just enough hope that I could be crushed. Let's go.
Wow.
That's how things
enough.
go in my life. So
just tip. All right. So game predictions, real quick.
Yep.
And we've been going for way too long, and we're both tired. But
very much so.
A little bit about game predictions. Suns game. Suns just lost by 3 points to the Washington Wizards. Got dominated by Kyle Kuzma. Love to have him. Don't know how we'd get him. But what do you see with the Suns? Suns have they've kind of been reeling a little bit. They haven't been playing their best ball as of late. They just lost, like I said, at home against the Wizards. What do you think about this game? This is coming off 2 losses.
It's
2 days off
on which team shows up, man. The Grizzlies haven't been playing their best ball the past couple games either. I mean, I can't imagine they come out. That game's national TV as well, right?
Friday on ESPN. These are all national TV.
2 days off. They got to quit doing that. The league's putting us in a hole on purpose. This is a scheme. The Grizzlies play terrible on 2 days rest, which there's no excuse for, but also screw you, NBA. Quit doing it. I mean, I can't imagine they come out and put up another dutter for the 3rd game in a row.
Yeah.
And let's not stand by what I said on our last show. I think the Grizzlies are the best team in the West. I think they are the best team in the West with the most talent. I think when it's all said and done, they will come out on top of the West. And I mean, I don't know what to make of a prediction because it's same time zone. Arizona, by the way, if we have anyone in Arizona listening, you guys are weirdos with your time zone when you don't do the whole switch over. I just found out talking to a prospect the other day that you guys are all that you are on actual mountain time now. You're not Pacific time. So it's very annoying. I wish you guys would fix it. But so they're going to be in the same time zone, same exact time. I hope they come out firing. I hope they come out firing. If they come out firing, they'll win. I think it'll take a good Jaren game. And I think that's the only thing that they will have to need. I think they need a good Jaren game and everybody else to not suck. That'll be good enough.
Yeah. Good Jaren game would be important. I'm not sure about Devin Booker. He did not play tonight. He has a groin injury. I'm not sure. That's literally the first time I've ever seen that. I thought he was playing, so he must have just had a rest, or maybe it was a groin injury. So I'm not sure about him, but they have 2 days off as well. They played tonight, and they won't play again until Friday. And it's the late game again out on the West Coast. But DeAndre Ayton tonight went off for 30 and 13. That's not going to happen against Steven Adams. Steven Adams is not going to allow DeAndre Ayton to go off for 30 and 13. DeAndre Ayton does shoot well from the mid, right? Because he is mid.
DeAndre Ayton is good. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
But I did like what you did there. But I do think, and I saw this early from Adams, I think Adams has done a very good job of trying to eliminate the drop coverage that took him off the court in the playoffs. I thought he played really well on the perimeter against Jokic. I thought he did well against the Bucks as well. I think the only reason they didn't go back to Adams was because they needed something to get.
They needed a spark. They needed an offensive spark. Right.
It wasn't because Adams did anything wrong. And Adams, obviously, it's just not a good your best offensive player. Even though your plus minuses are big, you need people who could go get buckets, and it's just not him. And there were no moves for Taylor to make tonight. It was just that kind of night. So I think he has played pretty good defense. All that to say, sorry, it's tired. I already ramble when I'm fully aware.
Well, let me set this up for you.
Good defense against the mid.
You have Adams on Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have Dylan Brooks on potentially Devin Booker. That itself, sign me up. Then you also have Chris Paul. Chris Paul is going to try to do and put Steven Adams in every single pick and roll. They're going to try to take advantage of Adams and Ja. That is the game plan. That's what a Chris Paul offense does. There's going to be a lot of gamesmanship. There's going to be a lot of coaching techniques. They do have 2 days off, which helps. But Chris Paul has not been Chris Paul. So I really like this matchup for the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies win this game. I don't see a world where they come out flat again. I think they're going to come out with their hair on fire, and I think they're going to get a big dub on ESPN and take it into Christmas Day.
Yep, I think the Grizzlies will take the Suns more seriously than they take the Nuggets. The Grizzlies know that they're better than the Nuggets. I think they've known since last year they're better than the Nuggets. And I think the Suns, there's still something to prove there. There's a little bit of, for lack of a better word, at midnight, pissiness back and forth with that.
Pissiness. Have a good Wednesday.
I hate that I did that on a
Your
podcast that's going
bro.
out. But
right, is that going to be the title of the show, the pissiness of that game?
Nope. That will not be the title.
All right. Anything else you got on that before I hit my my ad for Mr. Jaworski?
Nah, hit it.
All right. If you need insurance, go check out our guy, Zach Jaworski State Farm, 901-443-4798 at ZachInsuresMemphis.com, Z-A-C-H, ZachInsuresMemphis.com. He insures me. He insures my family. He can insure you, whether it's your automobile, home, whatever. Promise you. Go check out. Let them know the Grizz 901 team sent you. Again, 901-443-4798. ZachInsuresMemphis.com. Also, our merch. We're putting out new stuff. Grizz 901 merch. You can go find us at grindcitydesigns.com/Grizz901. Grindcitydesigns.com/Grizz901. Also, Grizzly Player Watch. Real quick, shout out. It is way past midnight. 2-2 night. Sorry, Santi Aldama did not. He got in foul trouble, so he missed. But 2-2 night, 57-44 on the year. If you are following along, all right. We have some big games coming up. We're gonna keep trying to do these late night ones. I don't know if we're gonna be able to. I'm fine. I'm a late night owl. If you're hearing this on a Wednesday and you're on the podcast or on YouTube, thank you for hanging out. We've had a big group hanging out with us the whole night tonight. So thank you for hanging out with us here on YouTube, listening and watching and seeing us as we battle through the late night time. But anything else that you see, yeah, it's way too late. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. Anything you have going out, Nate? Anything you got going on?
We will have a really cool, unique article coming out. I was hoping, well, we did have, I guess, a Big Jai game, but it was not a fun Big Jai game. But a really cool article coming out by Mr. Andrew Hanesian tomorrow on the anatomy of Ja Morant. And he, for anyone who doesn't know Andrew, has a background in biology and medicine. And so he knows a lot about muscle fibers, all the kind of junk. That's really the only thing I know is how to say muscle fibers. He knows all that stuff. So he goes in depth on how the different muscle groups work and what about specific muscle fibers, et cetera, and allowing him to do all the crazy stuff he does. So listen, it's really good. He does it in a way where even I can understand what's going on. So be sure to check that out. We'll have that coming out tomorrow. And then we have some Christmas themed stuff that's going to be very gimmicky and everyone's going to really enjoy it coming out towards the end of the week as well. So check out those articles. They'll be coming out. And other than that, no, I don't have anything.
No,
that's it. That's the end.
That's that big brain working over there for Andrew. Got that
big brain energy.
Big brain. He's the opposite of someone else. Won't mention him. All right. What do you have?
No, I was raising my hand. Opposite of me.
Oh, you're a big brain. All right, that's all we got. Thank you for hanging out with us. It's always a joy. I love doing these post-game ones now. It's been now my favorite ones. And honestly, shout out to everyone. Our pod has been kind of blowing up. So thank you for listening. Whether you like us, you don't like us, you hate us, whatever, you're listening. Thank you. So keep hanging out. What else do you have?
Grizz are going to be okay. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun again soon. I anticipate them having a good game this Friday.
It was just so much fun. How is it not fun? I don't get it. It's fun. We're losing. We just go, whatever. 2 games, whatever.
They were miserable.
It's still fun. Whatever. It's still fun. All right, we've crossed the hour mark. We got to get out of here. Be nice and tell your friends.